Get in there and get out of it alive. And don't fuck up.
For I'm scared. And
This is the most beloved tough guy the UFC ever made. Stockton's own, the man who choked out Conor McGregor on 6 days' notice. But at 41, the blood would not stop pouring. His own corner waved it off, and the whole world started asking the same scary question. Stockton's son. To understand why people are scared for Nate Diaz, you have to understand where he comes from. He was born in Stockton, California, back in 1985, a working-class city with a rough reputation, and he grew up alongside his big brother Nick and his sister Nina. The Diaz boys did not come from money, and that hard edge never left them.
Yeah, well, that's just where we come from. And, everything started there.
Nate started training when he was just 11 years old, following Nick into the Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu system. That Stockton style was all grit, all pressure, endless cardio, and a refusal to ever back down, and he carried it into everything he did. He earned a third-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Gracie, and he and his brother became so tied to their city that fans started seeing them as the living face of the 209. The bond between Nate and Nick was the heart of all of it, because they trained together, cornered each other, and carried the same chip on their shoulder against a sport they felt never fully respected them. Out of that came the whole no given mindset that Nate turned into a brand. The idea that you stay true to your roots, you speak your mind, and you bow to nobody. He even pushed cannabis as medicine years before it was normal, hitting a vape pen right at a post-fight press conference, and he turned that rebel image into millions of followers who saw themselves in him. His big break came on The Ultimate Fighter Season 5, which he won back in 2007. On that show, he submitted his way through the whole bracket and announced himself as a real problem, and from there, the wins just kept coming over hardened veterans who could not solve his length and his pace. He choked out tough names, threw up middle fingers in the middle of fights, and turned almost every contest into a war, and by the end he had collected the third most bonus awards in UFC history, which tells you he was always in the kind of fight people could not look away from. What set him apart was never raw power. It was his engine and his pressure, that famous Stockton cardio that let him drown bigger names in the deep rounds while they faded and he just kept coming. He could take a fight on a few days' notice, walk in soft and underprepared on paper, and still find a way to make the other man break first. Then came the night that made him a legend forever. In 2016, on short notice, Nate stepped up against the biggest star in the game and submitted Conor McGregor at UFC 196. The whole world watched the loudmouth from Ireland tap out to the quiet brother from Stockton, and just like that, Nate Diaz was a household name. He did not win them all, and he never pretended to. At UFC 244 in 2019, he fought Jorge Masvidal for the so-called baddest belt, and a doctor stopped that one because of a bad cut over his eye. But even in defeat, the crowd loved him more because he always came forward and he always kept it real. That same toughness, the thing that made him a hero, is the exact thing that would later put him in danger. The cracks. For all the love, the cracks were always there, and after his UFC peak, they started to show. Nate fought his last fight in the UFC in September of 2022, choking out Tony Ferguson at UFC 279. He went out on a win, but he walked away as a free agent, tired of fighting under a promotion he felt had underpaid and underused him for years.
I need to get back to what I do.
damn.
It's just what I do now.
Yeah.
That line says everything about why he could never just stop, because fighting was not a job to Nate, it was who he was. So instead of retiring, he chased the new money in celebrity boxing. In August of 2023, he boxed YouTube star Jake Paul and lost a clear decision, getting dropped in round 5 but refusing to fold. He came in as a massive underdog against a man who only boxes, and he still made it competitive down the stretch and proved he could eat a beating and keep walking forward. Then in 2024, he boxed his old rival Jorge Masvidal and got his hand raised, finally evening that old score. But the business side turned ugly fast. After the Masvidal fight, Nate said the promoter, a company called FanMio, stiffed him on most of his pay. He claimed he was promised around $10 million and only ever saw the advance, so he filed a lawsuit. The case went to arbitration, and an arbitrator eventually sided with Nate, awarding him roughly $6 million plus fees. Masvidal had to sue the same promoter too, and he won a judgment of more than $5 million. Winning in the ring did not mean getting paid, and that is a hard lesson for any fighter who leaves the safety of the big leagues. This is the trap a lot of veterans fall into once they walk away from the structured pay of the UFC, where the purses are guaranteed, and step into the wild west of independent promotions, where the big numbers written in the contract do not always show up in the bank. Off the clock, his Stockton instincts kept pulling him into trouble. In April of 2023 on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, video caught Nate choking a man unconscious right in the middle of the street. The other man was a social media boxer who had been chasing him through a brawl. Police put out a warrant for second-degree battery, and Nate turned himself in. posted a $10,000 bond, and headed home to California. His team always said it was self-defense, and months later, the district attorney dropped the whole case for lack of evidence. The scariest cracks, though, were the ones showing up on his face. Nate has always cut easy, and years of wars left thick scar tissue around his eyes. By 2025, it got so bad that he reportedly turned down bare-knuckle offers because the risk of bad cuts was just too high. When a fighter known for taking everything finally says his own skin cannot take anymore, that is the body sending a warning. And the truth is, the money was still real, since the Jake Paul card alone reportedly pulled in around $27 million. But so was the mileage. And every camp was asking more from a body that had already given almost 20 years to the fight game. Nate, being Nate, was not about to listen. The fall and what's left. Which brings us to the night everybody is still talking about. After almost 4 years away from real fighting, Nate signed up for a comeback in mixed martial arts. On May 16th of 2026, on a Netflix card run by Jake Paul's company, he met Mike Perry in a 5-round welterweight fight. Perry was a feared brawler riding a hot streak, and Nate, at 41, was walking into deep water against a younger man who hit a whole lot harder.
Me and Mike Perry been the biggest thing on the outside of the UFC.
He talked about it like a business move, the biggest fight he could make happen outside the UFC. But deep down, he knew exactly how dangerous it was. And once that cage door closed, the fears he had joked about came true in the worst way. Perry pressured him from the opening bell, rocked him with hooks and a knee, and by round 2 had opened a nasty gash on Nate's head. The blood poured down his face and pooled on the canvas, and the warrior who never quit was suddenly gassed, wobbled, and backing up. Then came the moment nobody wanted to see, because Nate's own corner stopped the fight after round 2. The people who love him most looked at the blood and the damage and decided enough was enough. Nate did not even argue. He just said he would get Perry's ass next time and accepted it, which somehow made the whole thing sadder. To make it worse, he had hurt his hand early, and he was later handed a 180-day suspension unless doctors cleared him sooner. Insiders called it a somber finish for a cult hero, and Nate himself admitted that, physically, he felt terrible in there. Nate Diaz is not gone. He is alive, he is loud, and he is still posting to his millions of followers. When critics question his health, he claps right back, telling them he has been talking this way the whole time and that he is smarter now than ever. So the tragedy people see is not death. It is something quieter and far more familiar. A beloved fighter whose body is finally telling him a truth that his heart still refuses to hear. And he is not the only one walking that road. His brother Nick came up the same way and has dealt with his own struggles after a long and brutal career. And the sport is full of tough men from hard places who fought too long because fighting was the only thing that ever made real sense to them. That is the bigger story here, much bigger than any single beating. The thing that made Nate Diaz great, that never quit Stockton heart, is the same thing that keeps dragging him back into the fire long after the smart money says to walk away. So now he sits at 41 as a free agent, healing up, still teasing one more run, and still believing he has something left. Maybe he does, and maybe the Perry fight was just a bad night and not the end. But for the first time in a long time, the people who love Nate Diaz are not asking who he will fight next. They are asking whether he should fight at all. Real talk, where do you stand? Should Nate Diaz lace them up one more time and chase that last big payday? Or did his corner already show him the most love by stopping it? Drop your honest answer in the comments and tap the card on the screen right now to see more videos like this before you go.